Big dip energy is about having a natural magnetism that draws people to you, like chips to a bowl of dip. And that big dip energy really is like a manifestation magnet. And I feel like because I've really embraced who I am, every facet of myself, but especially the food and especially the fun, like conversation and pun, that version of maximalism attracts the right people to me, to be in my circle, to be people I work with, to inspire me. All it takes is that moment of kindness, asking someone how they are, or just showing up in a way that is vibrant and inviting so people feel like they can also be that way. I hope that I can project this happiness and genuine excitement and zest for life to other people so they in turn feel that way too.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Perfect Bite podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Perkins. If we ever dine together, you'll realize quickly how much I love a sauce, dip, or spread. I'm a bit of a condiment connoisseur, and it really is the more the merrier for me. That's why I couldn't be more excited to speak with today's guest. She's literally the dip queen and brings that energy of bold, beautiful maximalism to everything she does, whether it's writing her own cookbooks, cheering on women in food with Cherry Bomb, or hosting and judging on your favorite Netflix shows. She is unmistakably and unabashedly herself, and we can all learn how to channel her energy to love ourselves more. Please welcome author of Big Dip Energy and food journalist extraordinaire, Alyse Whitney. Hi.
I'm so excited to be part of your, your bite club, your perfect club. Like, do you have a name for your podcast listeners? Do they have like Arianator, whatever the Ariana Grande fans are? We need one for yours.
We need one. Okay, how about we put a poll out in the show notes, and like when we release this, we can put it on stories, because I've been calling it like the TPB fam.
Ooh.
Or, just like a little more simple like that. But I like this idea of like biters would be weird, but
ooh, biters.
Naughty, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe like you got some vampires in your group. You're gonna have like true blood.
Quite the niche. This is gonna be like
the perfect. Need something that like just like rolls off the tongue, like little bites. Is that the name of those little muffins?
If that's not trademark, I will happily be Lil Bites, because I'm like 5'2", so everyone.
Yeah, me too. Bite. I'm like 5'1.5", I think.
I know.
So
you know when you get in that little, yeah,
somewhere between 5'1" and 5'2".
You're just like, here we are in the petite category.
Yes, we are the petit fours and the amuse-bouche of the world.
I like that.
We've got some things, like if you put them all together, you've got past apps. You've got hors d'oeuvres. We're now leveling from one bite up to many bites. But I think that that's kind of what you do with the show. It's that you bring in all the bites of the world, the bites and the biters.
Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, this is fun. This is a good brainstorm for everyone. Listeners, tell us what you think, or watchers, because I hope folks are watching. You are wearing the cutest top. You've got an amazing makeup situation going on here. Again, you're bold and beautiful.
But these custom Cupid earrings that I had made, but they hurt with the headphones on. And also the headphones are decorated with stickers.
Stop. I don't have any food wear today, but I love like the Jenny Lemons clips.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did. I had them in every mailer box for my book, because she makes a chip clip that can double as, well, she didn't market it as that it could be a chip clip for the bag, but it's a ruffled chip. So I said, I would love to gift those and to do them like for people in their hair, and if they're a man, non-binary, whatever they are, they can wear it as a chip clip, or if they don't have enough hair, they can put it anywhere on their body. And Christina Tosi told me that she carries it with her all the time. And I was like interviewing her for my column Amuse-Bouche at Saveur. And she literally was like, wait, she pulled it out and she like showed me that she had it on her. And it was like a full year and a half after I'd given it to her. So that was really special.
That is amazing. Your network is incredible too. I mean, everyone knows who you are. You're such a, I'm not even going to say breakout star, because you've been working at this really long and hard, and you should be so proud of the work you've done. As we get into your work, again, I researched you on Muck Rack, good old journalist Muck Rack, and over 1,000 articles are attributed to your name.
It might be more, because when I worked at Bon Appetit for like 2 years, I think that I wrote at least 3 articles a day. And I worked there for almost 3 years, but that's nothing compared to if Muck Rack goes back to like when I was an entertainment reporter at the beginning of my career. our quota was 10 to 15 stories a day.
A story can be like a few lines too.
Yeah, it has to be like 250 words or something.
Okay.
But it's wild. It's wild, wild west. What journalism had become even over the almost 15 years I've been doing this. I've seen a lot of changes, but I really appreciate you understanding the difference between like an overnight or a breakout and slowly but surely doing things behind the scenes until you're ready to be the star.
Yeah.
And that's just the moment that I am at. I'm ready.
You're ready. And I'm excited for folks who love listening to this because especially when you're building your own business, your own personal brand, whatever it is, the way like you make money, quote unquote, a lot of people see folks and they're like, oh, wow, they now just raised X amount of money and they're like this. And I'm like, do you know they've been working on this for 5+ years?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I had no idea. And I was like, no, they're not overnight success. It's maybe within that year, they suddenly had this huge momentum shift. And that's all you can hope for is that you keep grinding at it and hopefully you get to the spot. So let's take things all the way back to the beginning. I always love to hear, when did you first fall in love with food and what was eating like for you growing up and in your household?
So I feel like I have a few kind of like gateway food moments in my life. So I was adopted from Korea as a baby. I was 7 months old. My parents are both lovely white people. My mom's side of the family is Jewish and my dad's side of the family is like, I don't know, whatever. So we had both holidays. My grandma's super Jewish, but I don't know, like we weren't a religious family, but food was really important.
Yes.
If you were to take one part of the celebration. But the funny part is that like my Grammy didn't really cook. So we didn't grow up having like Seder. Like we didn't do any of the high holiday meal at the house. And then my parents weren't really interested in food. Like as I started to tell you this story, I was like celebrations, food, all that. But then I realized actually it was kind of me that was the one who made that happen because my parents were very much mashed potatoes from the flakes in the box, shake and bake pork chops, lasagna that is just like ground meat mixed with a jar of Prego and then layered. Still
Efficiency.
delicious, but just efficiency. My mom was a teacher. My dad was an accountant. And food was never the center point of our lives until I made it that way because I started watching food television really early. Food Network was my after school program. I started reading cookbooks, the few that my mom had. I was a voracious reader. So my reading went from reading like American Girl books, then reading like Ina Garten or Tyler Florence or Jada. I just like kind of jumped there when I was in my tweens. And I started making full meals for my family when I was like 12 because I thought their food was kind of boring. And so jumping back to the beginning though, because I'm Korean, I feel like I always gravitated toward Asian flavors. When I was a baby, my family would get Chinese takeout and I would be too little to like fully eat like a piece of cashew chicken, but I wanted to taste it. So that's actually leading into why I got into dips. Because as a kid, I was so impatient, as a baby, I was so impatient about chewing. I like drinking. So I would just think, oh, I'll just swallow everything whole. Almost choked, almost died when I was a kid.
No.
Not anything really that I had to like go to the hospital, but like, ooh, she needs to learn how to chew and swallow.
Yes.
So it kind of became a thing where like soft foods like dips or soups just became something my parents knew that I liked and they wouldn't be as scared about. But yeah, those Asian flavors and the Chinese takeout. And then when there was a Korean mentor program at the local university, it was the Big Sib, Little Sib program. So I was assigned to an older Korean college student and they taught me about the cuisine. I even learned like dancing and singing in Hangul, the language. And the first thing that either I remember, like I know that this is called the perfect bite and we will talk about my perfect bite, I'm sure. However, the first perfect bite I feel like that I constructed myself was kimbap, which is seaweed with egg and beef and veggies and pickled things all rolled together and just a little compact little circle of delight. And that is the first thing I remember from Korean food making. And there's like a photo of me making it. So maybe that's what kind of really makes me remember it.
Yes.
But just that mixture of flavors and textures and colors to me was like an introduction to what food could be. And I think I've taken that layering and combinations with me throughout learning to cook and then becoming like, I'm not a chef, but I am the top of the home cook. Like, I didn't go to culinary school. I thought about it, but I realized that, like, throughout my life, writing was what I wanted to do. I knew that. I wanted to be a journalist since I was a kid. So I didn't end up going the like official food route, but I don't think I want to work in a restaurant. Like, I'd love to design a menu, but I don't think I want to be working in a kitchen every day. It's just not for me. But I love creating recipes, sharing them, catering events, making cookbooks, all of these things. So that first bite of Korean food, making that led me to what I can do now with dips, with noodles, with soups, whatever it may be.
With anything. That's amazing because you saw your through line so early. I mean, even from the stories from your parents telling you, like, you were so excited about food, you didn't even want to chew. Like, you wanted to just get into it. And I appreciate that you touched on the writing aspect too. I wanted to ask, were you writing short stories as a kid? Was it something that you were doing just for fun and you realized, I want this to be a career?
Yeah, when I was younger, I read lots of books, fiction mostly, and then my nonfiction was really just like culinary, like cookbooks and stuff like that. I never equated when reading a cookbook that I wanted to make one, interestingly, even up until probably a year or so before I even thought about making Big Dip Energy. I had read so many cookbooks throughout my career and helped with some even, but I didn't know if that's what I wanted to do because I was worried it had to be my whole identity in one thing, but it's not. But jumping back, I was always reading teen magazines and food magazines. So I subscribed to Bon Appetit since I
Millennial
was
dream.
12. Yes, millennial dream. So I had
Yes.
like teen people here and like YM, J14, whatever. And then I had Bon Appetit and Gourmet because I subscribed to those since I was like 12.
Incredible.
And again, it's interesting because it all led me to where I am now. But back then I wasn't like, I want to be a food writer. I knew I liked reading about food. I liked reading about hot teen stars and music and stuff like that. I actually, like, for a long time thought that I would be, I don't know, like, I want to do music reviews, but I still love music. So I was like, well, I just love talking to people. So I was like, okay, interviewing is something that I want to do. And that's something you really need to learn how to do as a journalist. So it all worked out. But I think that the skills I have as a conversationalist, as a journalist, as a feature writer, as someone who profiles someone is just being able to connect. And food is an easy way to connect with anyone. So
Absolutely.
even in the stages of my career where I wasn't writing about food, I was just enjoying food and exploring food. It still was always there. If you ask someone on a red carpet about their favorite snacks, they're going to be way more excited than some silly thing that they can't say about their movie because it's a spoiler. And I think that that has become such more of a thing now with like Hot Ones and Chicken Shop Date and shows where food is part of the conversation. But I think that there's a part missing where I would love to be cooking alongside people, like making their food dreams come true, or dream come chew is something I've been workshopping. And just the idea that most of the memories you have, good or bad, have a connection to food. And your past, present, and future, every day of your life includes food, more
Absolutely.
so than
Yeah.
any other thing. So I think that even though I didn't realize back then that my path was to be a more food centric journalist or writer, I think that because I really had a love for food and flavor, like noticing that there was no flavor in the food I was eating is what made me try to make that happen for my parents. And I don't think my family would have tried shrimp ever if I hadn't cooked it for them. Isn't that crazy to think? Like, they could have been missing out on shrimp their whole life.
I mean, and so many other things too. I understand. Again, parents from the Midwest. It was all about efficiency, convenience. How quick can we get this done? No spice. There, absolutely no spice. And so it's so exciting, especially as you get older, when you do start to make those food memories, like you mentioned, and your own preferences that you're not like, oh, that's just what I've always had. I mean, food really is one of those mediums where you can open yourself up so quickly. And it just makes me so excited that we have access to so many cultures so easily because, they're down the street.
Exactly. And I think that even for, I'm sure that in parts of Ohio where you live, you can't
Yeah,
get a diverse amount of cultures.
I know.
However,
There's
there's
some things
over,
that I'm like, where'd that go?
right? Because of the internet, because of television, you can know about a Nigerian dish, an Ethiopian dish, a Spanish dish that you may have never heard about in like the bubble you live in. But it's not about bursting the bubble. It's about expanding it. I guess like Glinda, like floating
Yeah.
around. I keep making Ariana Grande references and I didn't even realize that she was so ingrained in my brain. I guess Wicked really did that to me.
She's so cute. She's so talented
Yeah,
in all ways. I mean, I would like to know what Ariane likes to eat.
me too. Because I know that
Like, what
like
kind of food does she like best?
I feel like because she grew up in an Italian household, she probably had some back pocket recipes. I want to
Maybe like
know,
a good
like,
Sunday sauce? Yeah.
does Ariana Grande cook? Like, that could be an SEO headline. Does Ariana Grande cook?
Does she cook?
We
Because
found
we know Selena
Celine.
cooks,
Yeah, she had to learn
because
to
she has her
cook.
show. Yeah.
Hmm. And
But
Taylor Swift baked bread.
she
What does
makes, yeah.
Chappell Roan do? What does Sabrina Carpenter do? Like, I genuinely,
What are they
if I
eating?
had the access, you know, that 25 question series or 95 questions, whatever
Oh, like the
on
Vogue
Vogue?
one? Yeah.
But I want to do that, but with
With
just
food.
food, with going through the steps of a recipe or the dishes that influence their life. Has there been one they would write a song about? These are the things that I feel like we're missing in
Yes.
conversation because when someone gets the opportunity to interview Ariana Grande, they likely aren't going to ask her just about her known as like spaghetti and meatballs. But that's what I want to know. And I feel like that would be more important to her than any question she could be asked about the movies, the music, and TV she's done.
And that's why I do this show is not only the inspiration behind folks who are building something in the food and bev space, but the perfect bite question. It's because we all have our own memories. And I've never heard the same exact one. Everyone
Mm.
always has
And it,
something different. So you ended up writing, I mean, again, we're talking well over 1,000 articles before we've even gotten to television.
yeah,
And you've written for Bone App, like you mentioned, Food and Wine. You were with Rachael Ray Every Day. You ended up with Chrissy Teigan and Cravings. It sounds like you really set up her content and everything she was doing in the beginning with that. When did you like really start to get into that process and start to see the ball rolling so that you were starting to write and be hired for these opportunities?
yeah. What's interesting is the first half of my career, which I briefly mentioned, was entertainment reporter. So I was on staff at different entertainment websites, this website called TV Line, Wet Paint, Pop Sugar, writing for places like The Hollywood Reporter, Glamour, and did that for like about 5 or 6 years of my career. But then I realized if you've ever gotten burnt out from watching TV, there's something wrong. Like, I wouldn't be able to enjoy watching TV because I would have to recap Scandal. So I would watch Scandal, be writing the whole time, have to get it up first for SEO in front of everyone. And that's at the end of, say, I worked from 9 to 6. Then I come home, eat dinner, and then immediately start working again from like 8 to 11. And that was like on a salary. So it wasn't like overtime or anything. So doing that and writing like 10 to 15 articles a day, being on red carpets, like going to junkets, there were some amazing opportunities and experience I had. But I was in my early 20s in New York City. I was just exhausted, and you shouldn't be burning out that early.
No.
So I had interned at Bon Appetit when I was in college. I was part of the Condé Nast internship program. And that was the summer before I graduated. I moved to New York City the same day that I graduated college. So I just wanted to hit the ground running. But then it always came back to food. I was hosting dinner parties. I was always trying new groceries. I was still voraciously reading cookbooks and blogs and everything. And I was like, I think that I want to be writing about food, like just that brief time I had at Bon App. And also, I wrote about food in college, like for our magazine that I was a part of. So it just was a matter of time that I got back to food. So what happened was a job had opened at Cooking Channel and Food Network at Scripps on the back end. So this was like, I want to say 2015. And I worked in Chelsea Market. I got a job being like an editorial web producer for Cooking Channel because someone who used to work at Bon Appetit when I was an intern remembered me because I was like nice to him. Like, honestly, I was just like a nice person who
Not
like
burn bridges.
because he like taught us how to use the CMS. So I'm pretty sure I had to like work this Mike just to be able to do my job. But because I was like nice about it, like he remembered me many years later, even though I had no connections in that space at the time. So I worked there a couple years, but it was like permalance as in this journalism industry. You work on a hourly rate, but you still do other things. So I was like in tandem flying to LA to interview the cast of Pretty Little Liars or something. I shadowed Emmy Rossum on her directorial debut on Shameless. I like ran down the street with her in Chicago. So I have these
My God.
interesting memories that like intertwine with when I was working in food, but also still working in entertainment. So that's where I've always been. I've always loved the intersection of food and culture, whether that be pop culture or just the world's culture. And so at that point in my career, I needed a full time job and I was not getting that at my job at Cooking Channel. So coincidentally, a job at Bon Appetit opened up as an assistant editor. I interviewed for that job. I got it. I worked there for a few years. I got to start a few different recurring like features and series. I got Ina Garten to be our first ever guest editor. I have her cell phone number. Like we cooked together at her house in the Hamptons. She gave me vegetables from her garden. It was like truly a magical, like I could write probably an entire book on just my time with Ina. And when Big Dip Energy came out, I texted her to ask if I could send her the book. And I hadn't texted her in probably 7 years. Like I didn't use her number. I was so afraid that I would like accidentally call her, right? And she wrote me the most wonderful message like right away, like congratulations, that's so incredible. Are you sure? I know how much money it costs to like put together a package. And I was like, no, I really want you to have it. And she was just so caring and lovely. So I am really lucky to have like that culmination of moments over many years of growing a relationship there. But yeah, so I was at Bon Appetit for a few years. Then I worked at Rachael Ray's magazine, Rachael Ray Every, which sadly doesn't exist anymore, as their senior editor. And I got to do like their Kids Who Cook column, which was like celebrities or celebrity chefs and their kids cooking together. I did all the covers there and feature writing and working with great like recipe developers and people that just like made everything come together. And Rachael Ray taught me how to cook, like Garbage Bowl, EVOO, like everything about what she did on 30-minute meals and $40 a day with how I learned to cook. But like a lot of things in my life have come full circle, like being an early Bon Appetit subscriber.
And then you come back. Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like a return. I'm a regular.
I mean, truly like serendipitous, but also I think you're a manifester and not using that in the way that certain housewives of Beverly Hills use it, where I don't know if you're into it. But
a bunch of money to fall on me, great. I manifest that too. But I think it's almost the power of manifesting without saying it out loud until you're ready to say it out loud. I feel like back when I got all those jobs, I didn't realize I was manifesting it. I just thought I was working hard, but really is a combination of the belief in yourself and also the feeling that this is what you're destined to do. And sometimes it doesn't go at the pace you want. Rachael Ray's magazine did a huge round of layoffs, and that's why I ended up like unemployed and able to interview Chrissy Teigan for the cover of Marie Claire magazine. And that came up in the pandemic. I was living in my parents' house during lockdown of the COVID pandemic in the summer of 2020. And I interviewed Chrissy for the cover of the September issue of Marie Claire. And we had a really like raw personal interview. I'd only met her once before. We played Animal Crossing and just had a great relationship. And at the end, I said, hey, I'm currently freelancing. So if her new company, Cravings, needed help with content, newsletters, strategy, anything like that, video, social, I was available. So I gave her my email and then months went by, the story happened. And then I got an email from two people who I ended up working with being like, hey, like, can we chat with you, Chrissy? Pass along your info. I thought it was just an informal chat. It was a full Zoom interview of what I would do and the plans I would have and what this role could be. And I didn't know that was even an option. And then I did a really incredible edit test and came up with a strategy. And I felt really strongly this was what I was supposed to do and that it would move me to LA. I got the job. I was the managing editor, moved out here in September 2020. And now I've been here almost 6 years.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Again, you worked hard for it. A lot of it's also kindness too. That's what brought me back to working with folks in food. So I started off in lifestyle journalism in Chicago, excited to write about what was my big city growing up. And then went into startup land for a little bit. That didn't work out, as many startups do. And found my way being like, I want to work with people in food again, even though, like you said as well, like, did I ever have a real back of house jobs or anything like that? No, but I just want to sympathize and share those stories because these are incredible people. And you are the person who puts the words behind it. And I want to know if we're reading a piece of yours, because we can tell here on screen exactly who you are. But if I didn't see your byline, how would I know it's a piece of yours? What voice do you like to bring out?
Whatever I'm doing, make it feel conversational and that like I could be your friend coaching you on a recipe. I could be recommending you my favorite grill pan or my favorite eyeshadow. I want you to feel like I'm genuinely and authentically making a recommendation or teaching you something from the heart. And that will usually involve puns and wordplay and will often involve pop culture references that I try to keep them relevant that anyone can. But if there's a niche reference, that really makes me happy. I remember once at Bone App, I wrote a headline that something like brought me to life. And then in the body copy, I wrote about Evanescence, like the song Bring Me to Life.
Bring me to yeah.
And the fact that was able to make it in was like a testament to my editor at the time, Emil, who's now running the new Gourmet newsletter. But yeah, I just think that if there's a little extra whimsy, a little more fun, and yes, like I'm a maximalist, but actually in words, I don't want to be a maximalist. I want to be not a minimalist either, but just the right amount. You want to have something descriptive without being overwrought. You don't want to feel like the whole idea of jump to recipe on blogs. I don't want that. I really do hope that when someone reads a recipe of mine, whether it's online or in my book, that they take the time to read the head note. But if they don't, I want them to be able to understand it without. Because yes, the fun stuff in the beginning is fun for me. But as a reader, I understand if you want to skip over to it and get to the literal meat and potatoes.
Yeah. I feel that way about my own newsletter sometimes, where the beginning is really my fun playtime. That is where it's not being structured. It's not being like, okay, here's what you see in this week's episode, and here's how I broke it down. And here are other great examples of this type of brand. It's really my time to be like, this is what I've even just been thinking about this week and how it relates. So I get that. And you did it so well that, again, we've mentioned some big names, but I like that you realized there was a time that you needed to come in front of the camera. You needed to come from outside of the screen and be Alyse and not just, hi, I'm Alyse. I write on behalf of so and so. So, what was that moment like for you? You started to host on some really great shows. So, Netflix's Pressure Cooker. The second guest on this show was Ed Porter. So, have a little connection there.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
the crazy thing about Pressure Cooker was we
yeah.
didn't get to meet the chefs. It was a blind tasting.
Oh
And
my
it was a
God.
monochromatic challenge.
That's right.
And that was a really unique experience because the rest of the competition, they judged each other and they lived together like big brothers.
Yes. Yes.
So the fact that we were coming in as a variety of types of critics. There were journalists. There was like a critic from Time Out LA. There were different food writers and personalities. Like it was a really good group of people, a lot of whom I didn't know before that day and some who I did. So that was really fun. And the show I did prior to that was my first ever like television show. I had done on camera stuff when I was interviewing celebrities, but that was never the main thing. Like I was never on camera at Bon Appetit or Rachael Ray, even though I would have been and wanted to be. It just like there wasn't a place for me then. When I worked at Cravings, I did one recipe and video for a Thanksgiving. It was like a leftover turkey yaki onigiri, and people were really kind, but it was Chrissy's brand. So it wasn't meant to be Alyse Whitney for Cravings. It was meant to be Cravings by Chrissy Teigan. I totally get that. So when the time came for TV, if I had gone for it and auditioned for things, I feel like I would have been more afraid and uncertain. But what happened was at the time, my friend Anthony Porofsky, who was on Queer Eye, his agent at CAA reached out to me and said, Anthony and I like developed a show. It's going to be called Easy Bake Battle. It's on Netflix. Here's the deck.
That was fun too.
We would like you to be our first co-host and judge. They had a different one for each episode. So I was booked for the holiday episode. I met with the Netflix team. I met with a bunch of people and I was just like this, just myself. And I knew that like I didn't have the credentials of being a television host yet or a judge. All they could do was talk to me and see if they thought I was the right fit. I already had a relationship with him, which made it very easy to go into a setting where I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'd never been to New Mexico before. There were 7 cameras and a drone on me the second I like got on the stage. And the first thing we had to do, we filmed in chronological order in real time. So every challenge is real. Every amount of judging is real. We had a little time to go back and deliberate, but like there's no shortcuts, there's no cutting corners, there's nowhere to hide. It's like you are on, there's no prompt, there was no prompter. There was someone in my ear telling me if I had to say something to introduce like a challenge, but that was it. It was really that I had to just be really strong in the knowledge I already had of food and cooking and ability to talk to contestants who were nervous or excited or fumbling over something, being able to talk them through it. And then also to judge, eat on camera, not get food in your teeth, all these things. And I was wearing Spanx and I got my period. So if that tells you anything, you can do anything as a
That's
woman.
being a woman, honey.
So
It is
yeah,
like the biggest day is always the day that you're also like, why am I so crabby and tired?
Yep. But because I got through that and was so exhilarated and happy and wasn't even thinking about the bad stuff going on in the uterus, like I realized that was what I was meant to do. And everyone on that set and Anthony told me that, like the EPs, they were like, you're a star. You should be doing this as a job. And I was like, I'd love to, but like it's all about finding the opportunities. So Pressure Cooker came through not long after that. And then I was a last minute judge on the big Nailed It Baking Challenge. I don't think I've told anyone this story before, but like someone had COVID and dropped out. Like they normally have celebrities that are friends with Nicole Byer, like comedians and celebrities on that show. And I had met with the production team for, I think it was either for Easy Bake Battle or for something else. So they knew me and they called me at like 9:30 in the morning and they said, hey, like someone got COVID and cannot come to set today. And we are like already here. Could you be here in hair and makeup by 11? And so I pulled some outfits. They sent a car. I went over. It was in the old IKEA in Burbank. That's where the studio was. And I just was thrown into it and I had the best time. And I think that, again, not having preparation to be nervous made it like, I'm just going to do it. And I just did it. And now that's something I've done. And from there, the biggest full circle moment, I think, or one of them in my life is that I have since done 3 episodes judging on Chopped. And it actually, according to Wikipedia, which I know we can take with a grain of salt, I believe that once you hit 3, you are technically a regular judge. It doesn't mean that you are going to be on every season, but I think 3 is the number where you go from guest to recurring on Chopped. So
I think we could see more of you in the future there and more.
I would love that.
And more of just you. And it sounds like it's a good thing to be in the Netflix family. It sounds like once they like you, they're like, come on back. We're going to put you here now.
Yeah. And so my cookbook, Big Dip Energy, came out in April 2024. And before it came out, I started working on some television concepts for Big Dip Energy as a show. So those were worked on with someone really incredible that already had a lot of experience in the field. And not to jinx it, we're going to knock on wood somewhere, but got a meeting next week to talk some next steps and see what could happen and then go from there. It's all about the genuine relationships you make with people and not looking at it like, can they help me? Looking at it as, do I like you? Do I want to spend time with you on a personal or professional level? And then from there, like sometimes the magic won't happen. Like the person I'm meeting with next week that I've seen a handful of times over the years, we met on the first interview for Easy Bake Battle in like 2022, I think. And now it's 3 years later when something might actually be happening. But I don't think it could have happened 3 years ago. I didn't even have the idea. I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the drive toward a certain end destination. I kind of was just aimlessly driving around and waiting for the right thing to come along. But now I feel like Big Dip Energy is about having a natural magnetism that draws people to you, like chips to a bowl of dip. And that Big Dip Energy really is like a manifestation magnet. And I feel like because I've really embraced who I am, every facet of myself, but especially the food and especially the fun, like conversation and puns, that version of maximalism attracts the right people to me to be in my circle, to be people I work with, to inspire me. So that's what I want to keep doing. And I think that in this day and age where so many people are creating content, so many people are food people, food influencers, food creatives, and then of course all the incredible chefs and the chef contestants on TV. There's so many categories that you can be divided into. And what I want to do is to be able to be across any of them because of my knowledge, because of my work, because of my genuine excitement for food. and not being afraid to love food, which is something that I spoke about at the Cherry Bomb Jubilee. My talk was called Good Fat. It was about loving, not even loving, just treating people with kindness and respect, and maybe even love the way you do butter, the way you do avocados, the way you do Wagyu beef. Like, we prize fat in so many ways, except for on people's bodies that aren't our own. And if you hate yourself, like, I feel so bad for people who hate their bodies because that's just how they look at themselves. But the only reason that I've ever hated my body or felt shame or felt that I should lose weight is because of other people.
I was about
And
to
that is,
say, it's always
it's just,
someone else's projection
yeah, it's
to
projection,
make
it's
you
fat
feel like, oh,
phobia.
there's something wrong with me. And it's
Yeah.
just awful.
And the thing is, I really had some trouble being like, so the dips that I want to eat, they're going to be made with full fat dairy. They're going to be with a lot of cheese. There are some that are vegan and healthy and all those things, but I didn't want to make my food or myself smaller to potentially avoid people attacking me for my weight. And what I said in my talk at Jubilee, and something that I've realized, is that the more that I'm genuinely authentically myself, that I wear fun prints and colors and I smile a lot and like I take up space, people compliment me every day on my outfit, on my makeup, on my style. They ask me if I am a designer and I say no, but I design food in a way.
Yes.
And I realized that instead of being what I used to call fat called, when someone would just say, "You're so fucking fat. Don't eat that."
What
Like
is
those
wrong
sorts
with
of things.
people? I'm
What the fuck is
sorry.
wrong with people? Exactly.
What
Yeah,
the fuck is,
exactly.
I hope you say that back too, because
Honestly,
we
before
all
I
need to
didn't,
be
because
doing better at just calling people out and be like, why did you decide to say something like that?
exactly. And on the internet, especially, people feel like with the shield of being anonymous that they don't have to worry. But with that being said, now that I am out in the world, fully vibrantly maximalist myself, people like compliment me and yell amazing things at me rather than telling me something that's wrong with me. And it's really sad that when I thought I was hiding my body in like dark clothes and like the same jeans or whatever I wore as like a uniform to try to just slim down, that was when people would call me out. It's almost like they could see how insecure I was and that they wanted to call that out. But now that I walk tall, I walk proud, and I walk wide, people are just like, wow, look at her. All it takes is that moment of kindness, asking someone how they are, or just showing up in a way that is vibrant and inviting. So people feel like they can also be that way. I think it's almost like mirroring in a really helpful way. It's like, I hope that I can project this happiness and genuine excitement and zest for life to other people so they in turn feel that way too.
Yeah. And I think you are drawing all of the amazing things as well,
Thank
just by working hard, by being exactly who you are. And it's hard when we feel in this world that it's more algorithmic than ever. AI
hmm
is like putting out slop.
Yep.
And I was learning about like clones, and I was like, I don't want to be a clone yet. Like, when do I have to be a clone? I don't want to be a clone. I want to be human. And I think it's also been with age that I've been trying to do a lot of just trying to forgive like how hard I've been on myself.
Same. I was thinking about that last night. I couldn't sleep. And I was like, why did I waste so many years being hard on myself for just being me when I could have been out there, like making the world a better place? But because I couldn't even be myself, how could I be there for other people or be outward in a way? And even to this day, I'm working on launching a podcast and a Substack and all these things that take time and energy. However, like a big thing for me in the past couple of years has been like, am I ready to put myself out there fully? I'm out there. And I feel like in real life, I'm incredibly authentic and can be like the life of the party and really like bring people together. But online, I don't share that like every aspect of my life. Like, I'm not hiding anything. I'm just not just being in front of the camera the way that I show up in person. And that's almost backwards. But I understand that in order for people to know who I am and to follow what I do in the world, that I do need to show up online the same way I do in person, which is something that I'm trying to figure out now. It's like,
Yeah,
how do I do that without burning myself out and feeling like I need to be online all the time?
100%. I mean, I think that was along some of the questions that I have for you was your business is your personal brand. So you are part of what I believe they're calling essentially new media and how we're seeing things these days. It's again, you and I were coming out of college. We were like, great, I'll just work at this one magazine and hopefully forever I'll one day become the editor and it will somehow make me enough money. And that's just how you do it. And
Mhm.
that is not how things have gone.
No, and
Things were blown up very quickly, and now it's that combination of revenue streams. So you're figuring out, how do I cobble things together, but also, like you said, have it be under the complete umbrella, the same way that brands have always been working.
yeah, and I think I'm trying to figure that out now. It's like, what is my big umbrella? What are the pieces underneath it? And how can I give like all of myself without taking all of me at the same time? Like being able to give, but still remain a little bit just for me. Like there are some things I want to cook just for me. There are some things that I want to have time just for myself. Like I don't want to be on my phone all the time, but I also understand the importance. If my goal is to work for myself, but then like work with the right people collaboratively or partners or TV shows, those sorts of things, those are great, but at the end of the day, I do need something stable. So day to day, I know where my money's coming from. I know what I stand for. I know what I'm putting out there. And that's the hard thing. I have ADHD and it wasn't diagnosed until I was doing many jobs and realizing that I was so overwhelmed that I would just lie down and be panicked. Like I just knew everything I needed to do, but I couldn't get it done. And my therapist, who has ADHD, said, have you ever been told you might have ADHD? I'm like, actually, absolutely not, because my mom was a special education teacher. Like, she would have clocked that, right? And she was like, well, it sounds like you were very high functioning your whole life and really, really trying. But like, I remember in college, like taking an incomplete in a class, 'cause I just couldn't get the final done. Like, I sat in front of my computer screen for like 7 hours in the library and I just didn't do it. I don't know why. To this day,
Yeah, you just
I
felt
was always like,
frozen.
yeah, I felt frozen. So that is something I didn't know about myself. If I
So
don't have a deadline as someone with ADHD as a freelancer, it's really hard. I need a firm deadline. I need to stick to it because I will always get it done if I have a deadline. But if I don't, it's really tough. Like I wrote the manuscript to Big Dip Energy in 3 weeks. Like the actual, like the
wow.
recipes I did in like 4 months, but the actual manuscript
Which is
sitting
4 months,
down.
I'm gonna say, is also incredibly short based on the
Yeah.
other folks that have come on here, because people say
Yeah.
years typically.
Yeah. So they asked me if I wanted 9 months or a year and a half. And I said 9 months because I was afraid if I spent a year and a half, I would get distracted. I would spend too much time on things. So was it stressful? Yes, because I also propped the entire thing, did all of the creative direction, got the locations, hired the team, had friends as models, hair and makeup. Like I did the whole shebang. And I did all of the design. I told them like I want a scalloped edge here. I want this font. I want this to be a giant garlic bulb. I want this color blocking to happen. And they said yes to everything I said. That is very rare.
It was
I
all
don't
you.
know what I did to be so lucky. I think it's that I just knew what I wanted. I could visualize it and I didn't stop until I got it, but not in a pushy way. In a like, I believe this is what the book is. And my editor, Kathy Jones at William Morrow HarperCollins, is the most incredible collaborator. And she not only let my freak flag fly, but hoisted it higher. And like, I remember talking to other cookbook authors. I mean, I had 88 recipes in my book. We originally had 250 ideas, narrowed it down to 88. There's a photo for almost everything. There are step by step photos for some things. There are like how to grate cheese. There's like a full page on different ways to cut the cheese. And I just, I know. Yes, exactly. That's why I want people to giggle. I want
Yeah.
people to have fun. There's a compundium at the end of the book because the copy editors had to painstakingly go through the entire manuscript to find the pun and italicize each one to make sure that people understood. And that, even if I did nothing else after making that book, like I would be happy. I don't want to die, but like if I had died the day after it came out, I would have been like, okay, my
It's
whole
you.
life ended up somehow in that book, the thing I was afraid of, being like pigeonholed into being like a Korean American adoptee, and this is my trauma, and this are the American dishes I like, and this is the Korean dishes. No. In the book, I'm able to combine the things. Like I have a Face Your Schmears dip as an homage to my Grammy. It's a layered everything bagel dip with smoked fish. And there's a black and white sesame cookie dip that's both like Asian and Jewish. There's tteokbokki sausage dip that's inspired by that rotel dip that everyone ate in the 90s, but then with the spices of tteokbokki and crispy rice cakes and sausage. Like,
That sounds much
my
better.
brain is just wired to be constantly creative. I can't turn off. Like, it's overflowing. And sometimes that can be a gift and sometimes it's a curse. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I just have so many ideas and I want to execute them. But then, like, the executive functioning of the ADHD is what I have trouble with.
Yes.
So that's all to say that things happen in the time they're supposed to. And yeah, it was rushed. Would I do it that quickly again? No. But the lessons I learned from doing it in such a like truncated manner allow me to know that whatever I do next, especially in my next book, that there will be a process to it that I couldn't have created unless I did it wrong the first time or did it like stressfully the first time.
Yeah. And I think like everything you just said about this idea of like, I have all these thoughts and they're all in here. I just want to get them out the right way or do it the right way. I think you're speaking to so many founders as well, because like you gotta be a little nuts. You gotta be a little crazy to be like, I'm going to start something new. I'm just going to
Yep.
try it because we're all so scared of people's reactions or what happens if failure does occur. And you learn what's going to happen of what is failure. One, is it just compared to other people? Is it your own projections? Or is it truly like, hey, I ran out of money for this, or we
Yep.
ran out of time for this. It's got to be shelved and we move on to the next thing. I mean, it's hard to ask you, like, what do you think is really next for you? Because again, you have all of these different channels that are now Alyse. Yes, you are writing for other publications still, but you very much have your own brand now. And that's not going back in the box. It's not going behind someone else ever again. And I'm really excited about that. So I think a lot of folks would be like, okay, when are you working on the next cookbook? Or when are you working on the next TV show? So you mentioned podcast as well. I think you could easily do it.
Thank
It's
you.
just
Yeah.
it's a cadence thing.
It's a cadence thing and just setting a schedule. And I think the thing that I realized is that I haven't been treating myself like a brand. I've been treating
Yes.
myself like a person with ideas and connections and excitement, whatever that is. But that's not enough to sustain life, especially payment. So, like, in the journalism world, like the max I make on an article often is like $600. A lot of them are
Still great.
$200, even for places that you would think would pay more. But with that being said, I'm always going to love writing and sharing my thoughts, recipes, opinions, and different like conversations with publications that already exist, because that is something that I've done for a long time and I understand the merit of it and media. And there is something special, especially about having your article published in print. Like, that is still really special.
Yes, it is.
But with that being said, I want to carve out a space in the food world as well as like the general world of pop culture where people know me for having interesting conversations and delicious food with not only just like food people. It could be someone like you. It could be a chef. It could be a TV host, or it could be an A-list celebrity. Like, I have been on the Avengers red carpet for the first movie. I've been on the Kelly Clarkson show, making queso with her. Like, I've done so many things that make me not have that stage fright or intimidation when interviewing a celebrity, because they're just a person. If you treat them like a person, as long as they're not an asshole, it's great. They are already primed to speak well because they're media trained. But at the same time, I like when people let their guard down because they're comfortable with me and that we can have real conversations about things they might not normally talk about. So the podcast is going to be called Dippin In, and I'm looking at more as a talk show. Like, it's going to be on YouTube because, as you know, everything has to be on video now. I do think
Yes,
that I
ma'am.
would have thrived as a podcast if I could have done it just audio. And I know that I could, but I just don't think it's the smart thing to do in 2026.
I mean, one, when you're so gorgeous, like, come
Thanks.
on, we need more of you. And two, like, speaking of YouTube, I mean, yeah, this lives on YouTube as well, because again, I could not get away with not having video.
Yeah.
But the big news about Phil Rosenthal
Yeah.
going, I mean, that's huge.
Going to YouTube from Netflix is a huge difference, but I'm guessing that they must be paying him well to make him make that jump. And as someone who's been on Netflix shows, we don't get a free membership. Almost $20 a month now. You can't share with
Rude.
anyone.
Rude.
Yeah. So YouTube is free. And you can run ads on YouTube and get paid. But at the end of the day, the viewers can watch that content for free.
Yeah.
So I do think YouTube has been around longer than any of these streaming platforms, and it will be around after. I think it was only a matter of time. Like I filmed videos for YouTubes, for brands, for conversations. Like I did the Q&A with Michelle Zauner from Japanese Breakfast for like the Harvard bookstore, and that was on YouTube. That was the only place you could see it. And I just think that for me, the freedom to do what I want and not to wait for someone to greenlight a TV show for me to have a show. This is my way to show off who I am, the way that I converse and cook with people in a really fun way, but at the same time, have it reach more people because it's on a platform that is designed to generate an algorithm.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think that is something that I'm really excited about, because Dippin In is not just going to be about the physical food dip. It's about dipping into different subjects with different people. If I want to interview a neuroscientist, I can. That's the thing. My primary thing will be that there will be food involved or conversation about food, but the science of food is just as interesting to me as what Ryan Gosling ate to train for Project Hail Mary. Like, I really think that there is something about the way people are who they are because of what they eat. Like, you literally have to fuel your body in order to do anything creative. So the people that are out there in the world doing any job from nurse to lawyer to chef are all eating meals, are all having to think about the food they're putting in their bodies, what makes them nostalgic, and what they want to see in the future. So that's kind of what Dippin' In is going to be. And it's going to have a Substack component too. I think that will dip into some of the archives of the writing and the experience they've had, like the Ina thing. That was before Instagram Reels were a thing. People just posted photos on Instagram. So yeah, there's photos of me and Ina on my Instagram, but there's no videos of us cooking together. There's no story of that from my perspective, any behind the scenes. So why not? If I have all of this stuff from almost 15 years of doing this as a career, why not share it? And if people are interested, great. If they're not, then they don't have to subscribe. They can just stop watching. And I think that there's a power in that, a power in not feeling like you have to please everyone.
No. And I think it's such a trap that everyone has to get out of, because if you're trying to appeal to everyone, you will appeal to no one, because you're not being yourself. You're not fitting like a couple different, let's call them customer profiles if we're talking marketing, like or audience members. Like, who are you actually speaking to?
Exactly.
I am beyond excited for Dippin' In. Any way I can support, please let me know. And everyone else who's listening and watching, because it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so
Now
great.
that I've said it out loud, like I said it out loud to people, but now that it's on a podcast, like officially on The Perfect Bite, this is, I mean, it's really like the exclusive of me actually saying it on out loud in a way that will reach other people other than just like me having a conversation. So you're getting the exclusive.
Oh my God, thank you. We'll start with advice for anyone who's looking to create their own thing. So whether it's launch their own business or become the business of themselves, what's one piece of advice you'd give someone?
Be authentic to you. Like, no matter what you're doing, be authentic to you first and foremost, and the people will follow. If you look at brands that have really appealed to the masses, especially like millennials, Gen Z, it's like Fishwife, Brightland, brands that feel like you're part of it. Material Kitchen. When I think of brands that I put in my home, I am lucky enough to know some of these founders of the brands I'm mentioning, but even without, there's a very clear idea of what the brand is, which I have to imagine comes from an authentic place of self for that person. And the belief and the strength and the like, I don't know, the chutzpah of it all. You just really have to believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself, how are you going to get someone else to believe in you? And showing up every day, even when it's hard, which is something I'm learning to do. Like yesterday, I just was really unmotivated and like lying down on the couch, like dealing with like woman problems. And I was just like, you know what? I am going to give myself this little rest, and then I'm going to push hard because I need to get something done today that was like very important. I got it done, and I felt so much better, even though it was like 6 hours later. And I think there's always going to be hardships for people. There's always going to be that like climbing uphill. But if you can hoist yourself up, put on your oxygen mask first, like know exactly who you are, even if you don't know what your game plan is for your business or even for content creation. Like for me, I don't have a schedule right now. And when I worked in companies and magazines, there was always a schedule that I'd be planning out weeks, months in advance. I need to do that for myself. And that is something that I realized I've been doing myself a disservice for years by not just doing the damn thing and like putting the pedal to the floor, but also like you can't beat yourself up for what you haven't done. You can only beat yourself up for things that you are holding yourself back from doing because of fear or because of thinking you're not worthy. Every idea is just an idea to start. And it just takes the right people believing in it to make it a fully realized thing. So for me, that was like with my cookbook, I didn't realize that I could just write a cookbook about my favorite food dips and put everything into it, like about my life, about dips, about entertaining, about friends, all of these things, life lessons, all in one book. Being able to distill it into something that is unique, shareable, fun, and encourages people to cook. And at the end of the day, that's all I want is for people to get excited to cook and share food and meals with their friends, family, and strangers that have yet to become friends.
And for the folks listening, think of what your thing is. Is it food or is it something else that you're like, I would just be so excited if people had this in their lives and it made their lives better. And that's my favorite thing to put out in the world.
Speaking of things that make your life better, Ritz, come here. One of my dogs just woke up from a nap. Ritz, would you like to come say hello? Ritz, come here. Come here. Come here. We got a puppy. This is Ritz.
You're so cute.
She's a little angel baby. She just woke up.
You have the calmest dogs. Like they actually let you hold them.
She gets
we
really
pick up the cats and they're like,
oh, thank you. Wait, and let me show you Miso.
We need Miso.
Miso, come here.
Oh my God.
They do photo shoots. They have to pay their rent somehow.
All the good stuff. Alyse, we're here. I always get sad at this part, but I'm always excited too. So a little reminder for folks, this is called The Perfect Bite, not only because it's a perfect bite of the folks that we have across the value chain of food and bev, but also because we each have our own perfect bites. So something unique that is a memory, a recipe, really something that you've eaten. And every time you think about it, makes you smile. So Alyse, what is your perfect bite?
Okay, so my mom had a recipe from her grandmother, meaning my great grandmother, who I never met. It was called rice pudding, but it is not the rice pudding you're imagining. It's not dessert. It's not sweet. It's not chilled. It is a hot, buttery rice and egg souffle, but she doesn't call it that. It doesn't seem intimidating. You don't have to be fearful of it rising and falling in the oven. It does get like a kind of puffed, crackly top, but the ingredients are only rice, milk, eggs, salt, butter, and the like eggs are separated. So you whip the egg whites and then the yolks are in the rest. It was at every holiday dinner. And whenever I made a request for it, and you just, the first bite, you crack into it, which normally didn't happen because it was served for like Thanksgiving. So you were supposed to wait for everyone. But if my mom made it just for me and I could take a spoonful of the corner that has both crispy edges from the casserole dish, it's got this puffy, crackly, slightly buttery, poofy top. And then the inside is this like tender egg and rice, almost custardy. And then you spoon that together, and the first bite to the last bite is exactly the same delicious. But that first one, with the way it almost burns your tongue, all of those flavors that are inherently simple, but just absolutely explosive when together, that is like the number one comfort food. Like if I had a last meal, it would be like a cake of that, like a tiered cake.
My goodness, that's so unique. That is so you. I mean, technically, you could probably eat it like a dip.
Yeah, you probably could.
You could.
If I were to turn that dish into a dip, I would probably try to make a like rice cake / cracker that would be the dipper. I don't know what the dip would be though. It could become a dipper, maybe not a dip.
Yes. I think this should be your first dish on Dippin In.
Oh, that's a great idea
That
because
would be
it would
so
be
different.
unexpected because anything that you are eating, you're dipping into. Even if you're not physically doing the verb, the act of dip, you are dipping into something new. You are dipping into a new activity, a new hobby.
I'm so
Well,
excited.
well, I can't wait to have you on to Dippin' In. And I hope that you think
That
of
would be a dream.
a dip that you wish existed based on another food. Like I have a club sandwich dip that would
Ooh.
like transforming into a layered dip. Or if there's a dip that you want to transform into something different, like you're from a casserole area of the world, like a spinach artichoke dip casserole, obviously that's like a shoe in. But is there something different that you wish could become? So you think of that for when we chat next, which will be on my podcast, Dippin' In.
I would love that. Thank you. And thank you again so much for your time. Alyse, can you let folks know where to find you? So, social accounts, where to buy the book, websites, anywhere else.
Yeah. So my website, AlyseWhitney.com, which is spelled ALYSEWHITNEY.com. You can explore a few recipes, some that I made for just the website, some that are just lifted from the book, as well as my social media is the same. It's Alyse Whitney, very easy to find on Instagram. YouTube is Alyse.Whitney because I don't know, they wouldn't let me just have Alyse Whitney, but it's not taken. So those are the places. And then I have my Substack linked up in my Instagram for Dippin' In for when it launches.
Thank you
Yes.
again so much for your time. And
Thank you. This was so fun. I could literally talk to you for hours, and I hope that we can do this in real life very soon. I mean,
don't
the
have to
weather
tell me
can't
to come to
be,
California.
so please come here, and I will come to you and then eat some like Buckeyes and chili and all that stuff.
Pastries are amazing here. Thank you again so much, Alyse. And thank you everyone for listening in. This was Alyse Whitney's Perfect Bite.
Thanks for tuning in to The Perfect Bite today. You can listen to future episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Thanks in advance for subscribing, rating, and reviewing. You can follow The Perfect Bite on social media @PerfectBitePod. Now go get something good to eat.